Jeff Bridges will reprise his role as Kevin Flynn in the upcoming Tron Ares, a film Cameron Monaghan says will push forward what can be done from a visual perspective. I'm Brennan Sem for the New Wave Nerds. Let's get into the news. Today's story, written by Matt Grobar for Deadline, reads, Academy Award winner Jeff Bridges is set to return for Tron Ares, his third film in the long-running sci-fi franchise from Disney, sources have confirmed to Deadline. The actor revealed the news in a recent appearance on the Film Comment podcast, stating, I'm heading off this Saturday to play a part in the third installment of the Tron story. Jared Leto is the star of the third one. I'm really anxious to work with him. I've admired his work. Now, right there, I'm already going to have to take a step back and disagree with Jeff Bridges. I personally wouldn't be anxious to work with him, as I don't necessarily admire his work. We've discussed before ad nauseum on the podcast how we are not huge fans of Jared Leto here. Not that we necessarily actively dislike him, though Shade certainly actively dislikes him, I think. I'm just more unimpressed by any of his work. That's not true. Not by any of his work. Obviously, his performance in Requiem for a Dream is incredible, and let's see, he had a bit part in American Psycho that I really enjoyed. He spoiler alert gets murdered by Christian Bale in a very fun manner. That scene is great, actually. I just remembered because Christian Bale is talking about Huey Lewis in the news. That's definitely fun. If you haven't, if you for some reason haven't seen that movie yet, it's definitely worth a watch. I don't know why some people base their personality off of what's the guy's name? The character. Christian Bale's character. Not important, I guess. But I don't know why some people do that, but it's a good movie nonetheless. But apart from that, the other things I've seen from Jared Leto are not, groundbreaking, let's say. I mean, obviously there's, Suicide Squad and Morbius, and those are obviously hilariously bad. But I feel as though all of the other roles are still, middling at best. They're not there's nothing really to shout about either way. There's just nothing incredible there, I guess. As far as I'm concerned, there's just frankly not much to admire. Especially when coming from Jeff Bridges, right? Like somebody who, again, Academy Award winner, a very well-known name in the industry, right? He's definitely done his fair share of work that deserves admiring, I suppose. But let's get back to the article here. Entering production in Vancouver in January, Tron Ares follows Leto's highly sophisticated program Ares, who is sent from the digital world into the real world on a dangerous mission, marking humankind's first encounter with AI beings. Now, as far as the story goes, I will actually say that this is something that does seem moderately interesting to me, right? It seems the story could be done very well. Obviously, there are a million and one ways to tell a story of this kind, where it's just, derivative and there's nothing new there. It's not attacking the problem of AI from a different angle. It doesn't say anything, right? The film doesn't actually approach anything of import or of value. There are definitely plenty of ways to tell the story like that. What I'm mostly interested in is like how this story fits into the existing Tron universe, I guess. The last time I've seen, I haven't seen Tron Legacy since it came out in 2010 or whatever, and I don't know the last time I saw the original Tron. It's been so long now that I couldn't even have an estimate. At least a decade. Probably since before the sequel came out, to be honest with you. It's probably even longer than that. And so I don't have much information. I don't have much lore stored, in just ready to grab. So maybe this is something that has been, hinted at or something. Maybe there's something that's been, there are Easter eggs that have been planted. Maybe there are clues as to how the rest of humanity would react, but I'm interested in the way that they depict, the real world in this time period. I don't know what it's going to look like, and I'm curious to see how they depict this future, which I suppose isn't necessarily dystopian, but presumably it's going to have some form of cyberpunk something or other, right? I mean, this has to be a high-tech future of some form or another, and so I'm interested to see how they do that and what the direction that they want to take the real world, and how the two designs, I suppose, are going to fit in together between the real world and the AI world. I'm curious to see what parallels or what level of dissonance there's going to be in the set design, in the effect design for these two completely different, or presumably completely different settings. Like I said, there's obviously plenty of ways that I think you can tell a story like this and have it be pointless, but I'm interested to see where they do end up taking it. So let's take a look back at the article here. The film also stars Greta Lee, Evan Peters, Hassan Minhaj, Jodie Turner-Smith, Arturo Castro, Cameron Monaghan, and Gillian Anderson. The director of the film is Joaquin Renning. I don't know how to pronounce this accented O or whatever. I don't know what even letter this is. I should probably learn that if we're going to be talking about this more. But in any case, this director, Joaquim, honestly, it might even be like Joachim. I might even be pronouncing the whole thing wrong now that I'm looking at it, because he's probably Swedish or Scandinavian of some sort, but I don't know. So yeah, Joachim. I'll do some research. I'll figure out how to pronounce it for next time, guys. My apologies. In any case, he helmed both Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, and Maleficent, Mistress of Evil for Disney following his breakout with 2012's Kon-Tiki. Now, notably, this is obviously not the first Pirates of the Caribbean, which is generally considered to be the only good one. If I remember correctly, Dead Men Tell No Tales is the one that came out in 2017. So I don't know if this is the most recent one, if they made another one. I feel like they've made another one since then. Have they? I'm not entirely sure. To be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. I don't know when the last time I saw any of those is. I definitely didn't see the most recent one, maybe even the most recent two. And I don't really remember anything from any of them at all. I think I've probably only seen all of them one time, and I have no desire to ever see them ever again, to be honest with you. But I know that all of them that aren't the first one, the general rule is they're bad. And this being one of the more recent ones, I know that the quality of film declined as we got to more recent times. So this one being, I believe, from 2017, I think it's safe to say is not good. And Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. I did not see the first one. I obviously did not see the second one, so I have no comment as for, the quality of either of these films, but I have to assume that they did not go over well. I know that they are both, stars-wise on IMDb, I know that they are both ranked in the 6s. I believe the first one is a 6.9 or a 6.7, and the second one is a 6 point, I want to say a 4 or a 2. Oh, here we go. Now IMDb loads. For some reason, it kept giving me an error message the first couple times I had done it. So what am I looking up here? Maleficent. Okay, so the first one, 6.9. Solid memory, and the second one, 6.6. So again, not particularly amazing. The third film that is mentioned in this article, Kon-Tiki, has 7.1 stars and was nominated for 1 Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film. It did not win that year. I don't remember what won. So, Of the three films that they describe or that they say here as being helmed, these are the three that they feature as, I guess maybe notable touch points in this director's career. Of the three that they've picked, only one is probably going to be relatively good, and even so, it only got a 7.1 stars, and even the critic score is only a 62 out of 100 for the Metacritic, so even that does not necessarily bode well. None of this really fills me with confidence that this upcoming Tron film is going to exceed my expectations and live up to what I would hope that it is. I doubt that it's going to, the film itself is going to be as good as the promotional images, which are honestly seriously piquing my interest. I'll show one in a little later for our second article that we've got pulled up here. But yeah, that doesn't fill me with confidence. Let's head back to the article here for the rest of the cast and crew. Jesse Wigato and Jack Thorne wrote the script with Sean Bailey, Jeffrey Silver, Justin Springer, Jared Leto, Emma Ludbrook, and Steven Lisberger producing alongside E.P. Russell Allen. The film is slated for release in 2025. If I had to guess, this might be the kind of movie that they want to go for. Oh no, because it's Disney, isn't it? It is a Disney film. I was going to say this seems to me like the kind of movie they want to be like a summer blockbuster. It seems to me like the kind of thing that the kind of big blockbuster action film that they would try to go for a summer release. But obviously with it being Disney, they already have Captain America Brave New World for a summer release. I don't know. I feel like there was another one that I'm forgetting now. So maybe their timetables filled up for that frame. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what they would go for otherwise. 2025. I mean, it's a long enough away. I don't know. My instinct is summer blockbuster, but I know that Tron Legacy was released during the holiday season, so maybe that's something that they'll go for here. Maybe they'll try and do that as well, or maybe it'll release. They'll do like a the anniversary of when the original one was released. That's also possible. Speaking of the original, the Tron franchise launched with the seminal 1982 title of the same name, starring Jeff Bridges as video game creator Kevin Flynn, which was lauded for its visual effects and developed a cult classic following after a tough go in its theatrical run. Following that up was Tron Legacy, a 2010 sequel introducing Garrett Hedlund and Olivia Wilde to the cast, which netted a little over $400 million upon its debut during the holiday season. So there's a holiday season. Maybe they'll go for a December release for this one as well. Not sure. Like I said, my gut instinct is summer, but I don't necessarily know why I feel that. What I really wanted to focus on in this, or what I wanted to highlight from this last article, is this phrase where it says, which was lauded for its visual effects and developed a cult classic following after a tough go in its theatrical run. That is what brings us over to our second story. Cameron Monaghan, what we noted, obviously playing a role in the sequel. He speaking at, I don't remember what. Not important. Speaking to Collider at something or another, Cameron Monaghan says Tron Ares will push forward what can be done from a visual perspective. Cameron Monaghan is teasing Tron Ares and revealing how he has always been connected to the Tron franchise. In a new interview, Monaghan is opening up about filming the third installment of the Tron film saga and hinting at the visual aesthetic that's being worked on. I think this one, in a very similar way, is going to really push forward what can be done from a visual perspective. The Calgary Expos, where he gave these statements. There we go. I would sometimes even come in on days I wasn't working because that set was really amazing. A lot of the practical sets were pretty phenomenal, and I would love to go look at those as well. Now, this does fill me with confidence. Obviously, doesn't fill me with confidence, but it does boost my confidence ever so slightly. Obviously, Cameron Monaghan, any statement from anybody ever involved with anything even slightly related to this movie is going to, try and paint it in a good light. But I'm a big fan of Cameron Monaghan. We've discussed him in relation to his role in the Star Wars video games, the Star Wars Jedi series. Fallen Order and Survivor both were incredibly well received, and I've talked at least a bit about how I would really like to see that character come through the Star Wars universe in a live action manner, right? And obviously the set, what am I trying to say here? The effects of the video game, the motion capture, the drivers used by that game were all incredibly phenomenal. The world is the world is beautiful. I'm talking too fast and jumbling up my thoughts here. The world is beautiful, and so for Cameron Monaghan to say that this film is quote, really pushing forward what can be done from a visual perspective, it does fill me with a certain air of confidence. It does make me feel a little bit more excited about this film than I had been previously, right? Like I said, Cameron Monaghan, anything he says is going to be trying to paint this film in a positive light, but he does have a certain level of gravitas, if you will, with me, where I believe him maybe a little bit more than I should, but it does make me excited and hope that they are aware, I guess, of the legacy, if you will, that the Tron franchise has sort of built up, right? As we'll explore a little further here in this article, and as we touched on briefly in the last one, both the first and the second one did not necessarily have amazing debuts or amazing reception, I guess is probably the more accurate way to describe it, and yet have both built up a bit of a cult following, due in large part to the fact that it's generally accepted that the effects of the films were well done, right? And so I think it bodes well that Cameron Monaghan is giving this sentiment and giving this statement. Presumably, it leads me to believe that at least the people involved in the film are aware of what needs to be done to at least keep it tonally similar, I suppose, to the first two entrances into the franchise. I'm excited to see like a full trailer and to get a glimpse as to what the effects are going to be for this film. I'm definitely a little bit more excited than I was previously. And like I said, I mean, even here he mentions the use of practical sets and that he really enjoyed them and thought that they were done well. And he said phenomenal. So I'm interested. We here are always in favor of using as much practical effects as possible, because that means that the special computer generated effects can have that much, that whatever little extra, resources to truly make them well done. I hope that they have a good blend of this and through the use of the combination of practical effects with the special computer generated effects. I hope that the universe and the film, I guess, feels relative, like there's an aspect of reality to it. That's what I always search for when I'm looking at CGI of these future landscapes. There needs to be a certain level of reality to it, right? Like my big complaint with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is that the effects were so much beyond the pale. They were so out there that I was unable to be drawn into the universe because it was so removed from what I feel is plausible, right? And again, that's part of the point, I suppose, of the quantum realm as an idea, but I think it didn't lend itself well to a film, right? To this visual medium, I suppose. Maybe it would have done well. It probably actually would have been done much better in a comic book if you were to transplant the exact story or whatever and just move it to a different medium. I might actually have been a little bit better received. But I hope that is what can be avoided, and I hope that they are actively trying to address the problems that a lot of people, not just myself, felt from Ant-Man Quantumania, and take the solutions from that analysis and apply them to this new Tron movie. I hope that's what we're going to see here. So let's get back into the article. Monaghan also recalled seeing the first Tron movie starring Jeff Bridges, which was originally released in 1982 on a plane when he was younger. Monaghan said, "I remember watching the original, and I thought it was from the 90s or something, because it was pretty amazing how a movie from that era could look that amazing. And wait, I remember watching the original, and I thought it was from the 90s or something, because it was pretty amazing how a movie from that era could look that amazing, and utilizing computers the way they did." It was that last part that threw me off. It was a little weird. He would later have the opportunity to attend the premiere of the film's sequel, Tron Legacy, in 2010, which starred Garrett Hedlund and Olivia Wilde. Monaghan said that Tron Legacy grew, quote, a cult fandom in a similar way that the original Tron did as well, where people thought it was very technologically cool, but it's continued to grow, end quote. Tron Legacy I just saw projected in 35mm at the New Beverly last year, and it really holds up and has that amazing soundtrack by Daft Punk. So I like that those movies have a number of years of separation between them. They don't come out very often, and every time they do, they show a new era of technology in filmmaking. That's an interesting point as well. I mean, what was it, 30 years between the first two, and now we've got a decade between the second two. Is it really a decade? Yeah. I don't know if the jump in technology in that last decade has really been significant enough to really, has it been? I mean, I feel like maybe this is worth rewatching again, Tron Legacy, but most of the movies I've seen, like, I feel like the effects, the quality of technology has not really jumped all that much in this last decade. Obviously, from the 80s to 2010 is a massive jump, but I feel like from 2010, and I guess I had the same I had the same comment when Avatar: The Way of Water was released, right? Like the draw of the first Avatar, obviously the James Cameron films is what we're talking about here. The draw of the first one was that it was this massive world that really explored and showed what modern CGI, what modern effects could do. And I didn't feel personally that, the world that was explored there, the story there was compelling enough to warrant a sequel. And I don't think that technology had jumped enough in this decade for a new sequel to be warranted. Is the level of CGI in Avatar 2 all that different from the CGI in Avatar 1? As far as that specific example, I cannot give an accurate, opinion. I didn't see Avatar: The Way of Water, and like I said, I have no desire to see it. And maybe my point would be proven wrong by watching Avatar: The Way of Water, but based on every other film I've seen that's been released over the past decade, I do not see a massive jump between 2024 and 2011 or 2010 when Tron Legacy came out. I do not see a massive jump. And so I suppose my question is it going to be a noticeable difference, right? Or is it even going to feel like there is a difference in it? Is it going to feel like it's a quote, new era of technology in filmmaking? I don't know. I'm not entirely confident. But this recent interview with Cameron Monaghan, some of the promotional images, they are definitely, piquing my interest a little bit in a way that, well, I suppose, it's effective marketing in a sense that when this was originally announced, I couldn't have been bothered. I think when it was announced, I may have even mentioned on the pod that I wasn't interested at all in seeing it, right? And Shade was the one who was all excited because he talked about how much he liked Tron Legacy. And like I said, I didn't like Legacy, and so I wasn't excited to see the third one. But after the promotional images, I'm definitely interested to see what they've got to, what they're going to show. And so this is one that I think as the months go on, I'm going to forget that it exists. It hasn't piqued my interest that much, but it's one that when it comes out, I'll likely go see in theaters. Which is definitely a sentiment that I didn't think I was going to have. I did not think I would feel that way about another Tron movie. And so that does feel good. And I'm glad to see Cameron Monaghan do more stuff outside of video games. I'm glad to see him move into the more mainstream acting space. Like I said, I would like to see him come pause and play Cal Kestis in a live-action Star Wars movie or series. I would absolutely love that. So I hope that this film does well. Because I think, I do really like the Tron aesthetic. It's an interesting concept. I really enjoy obviously the bikes and the throwy discs and stuff. Man, I don't even know what they're called. I really like the way that looks. And so I hope that this does well so that we can see more from this universe and so that Cameron Monaghan can do more stuff as well. Let me know in the comments down below what you think Tron Ares is going to be like. Do you think that this is going to be a worthy sequel? Do you think Jared Leto is going to let us down again? Or do you think that I will be eating my words and that I will enjoy this movie and I will be wowed by Jared Leto's performance and that this will be a work worthy of my admiration? Let me know down below. Like the video. Make sure that you subscribe for more content just like this. The next segment comes out tomorrow, and it will not be a news segment. It will be a weekly fixation available exclusively on YouTube. We'll see you guys then, and catch you next time.